Salve discipuli. Sorry I'm unable to be at school today. I have an all-day district meeting or meeting at the district office. So here's your Pam and your daily history for today. The Pam is quod homines tot sententiae, as many men, so many opinions. That tot is our vocab word, which means so many. So that's your literal translation. A more practical translation is there as many options as there are men. Or sorry, not options, opinions as there are men. For our daily history, we're going to talk about the Odyssey today. The other day we talked about the Iliad, so two different books. So the Odyssey covers Odysseus's return home from the war. So remember, the war is the topic of the, I shouldn't say it's the topic, it's the background, it's the setting of the Iliad. The war was 10 years long. The Odyssey is Odysseus's return home, and it was also 10 years long. So Odysseus was gone from home for at least 20 years. It's also written in 24 books. Remember, those books are actually chapters. They just call them books. It's also written in dactylic hexameter. That's the type of poetry. Ithaca is right here. It's a little island off of the western coast of Greece. The themes in the Odyssey are hospitality, temptation, disguise, revenge, and hubris. Some similar themes to the Iliad, but a couple of different ones as well. Sorry. This book, for talking about the individual characters, I wanted to mention the dual names or the meanings behind the names on some of the main characters. So Odysseus can mean the far-seer or the hated. Many people did not like Odysseus. He was actually kind of a jerk to a lot of people. Penelope was his wife. She was the weaver. Telemachus was his son. Telemachus was a baby when Odysseus left for the war, and so of course he was a young man when Odysseus returned from the war. His name means fights from a distance, so tele means distance. We have lots of English words that use the prefix tele, like telephone, teleport, telecommute. Polyphemus is the name of the Cyclops that Odysseus encounters, and it means many songs or legends. Poly means many. And again, that's a word that we have a lot often in English. Eurymachus means wide or far war. Again, we have Machus meaning war, just like in Telemachus. Antinous can mean forehead. And so back to the themes a little bit. Hospitality shows up a lot because Odysseus traveled a lot. I mean, unintentionally, it's not like he was on vacation, but he stopped off in many different places. Some places he stayed for years at a time. So he depended on the hospitality of strangers to make his way home. Temptation shows up a lot, especially with the sirens. He really wanted to see what it was like to be subjected to the temptation of the siren, so he had his crew tie him to the mast of the ship so that he wouldn't succumb to the temptation of the sirens. Disguise. This shows up quite a bit. Probably the most famous use of disguise in the Odysseus was when he finally got home. He disguised himself because he wanted to basically spy on his wife and everybody else in his household to see if they had remained loyal to him. So when he first came in the house, he was in disguise. I mean, it was 20 years later, so chances are he didn't really need much of a disguise in order for people not to recognize him. And then there was the theme of revenge. He takes revenge on the suitors, meaning all of the men who were hanging out trying to get Penelope, his wife, to marry them, trying to convince her that her husband was never going to return. And then, of course, hubris. Hubris is a very common theme in epic literature. And again, hubris is extreme arrogance or pride. So go ahead and get those notes taken down. Please be on your best behavior for the sub. Please make sure that you are in your assigned seat for the sub. The sub will give you a packet. It is due at the end of the period. And then I would like you to read the first story of Stage 19. It is called Aristo. You may use a book from the shelf, or you may look online. There are a few new characters that we're going to be introduced to in this story. In your notebook, take notes on these 3 characters. Who are they? What's their relationship to each other like? What are some notable characteristics of them? What do they do for a living? That sort of thing. Write down everything you can about these people, because as you have noticed, there will be questions about them on the Stage 19 summative. And I will see you all tomorrow. Wale te discipuli.